Let's turn to impeachment. Here is Donald Trump. We'll get to Joe in a second. Let's do Joe. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. We got it. This is hilarious. Joe Biden is he's starting to get outpaced. Well, there is a quality in the race right now, and maybe I'm projecting, and I will cop to that's possible. But there is a feeling that things are starting to the pack is starting to shake up a little bit. And we're on that sort of rounding a corner. There's a CNN poll out now that has Bernie Sanders in the lead. Statistically, it's close to a tie nationally, but it's a big poll. Bernie Sanders has 27% of registered voters, and Biden's at 24%. But you just got to look at the trends. In August, in this poll, Sanders had 15%. In September, he had 17%. In October, 16%. In November, 17%. In December, he had 20%. And now he has 27%. Biden, 29% in August, 24% in September, 34% in October, 28% in November, 26% in December, now down to 24%.
Protect your neck, Joe.
Warren, August was at 14%, then went up a little bit, up and down, and is back down to 14%. Buttigieg is still doing better than he's done before, although basically at the same point where he was in November at 11%. And then Bloomberg is there, and then Amy Klobuchar, who got a huge apparently bounce from the New York Times endorsement, is up to 4% now.
A half endorsement.
Yeah. So excuse me, a 50% endorsement.
I'm so sad I missed the fun that you guys probably had with that.
A half endorsement is what we call that. We didn't even get into it too much because it's just so silly. It really is just so silly.
David Feldman.
It's a silly newspaper.
David Feldman said they're both good. He said, Amy Klobuchar tells us not to dream big, and that's important. And Elizabeth Warren tells us to dream big. There's nothing wrong with dreaming big, just so long as none of those dreams come to fruition.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. No, the only thing that we talked about with that endorsement was just the idea that if you were going to endorse based upon just competency, irregardless of what your political your political agenda is, we are very fortunate that no one was in the authoritarian fascist dictator lane. Because that would be like, we chose three. The most competent for the establishment, the most competent for the radical change, and then the most competent for becoming an authoritarian dictator, who we just thought that these are three people. So if you're interested in one of those things, vote for one of those.
I thought it was so disturbing just quickly that when they talked about Amy Klobuchar abusing her staff, that one of the points that they made about it was that it's because it's a bad work environment. There's a danger in her not being able to retain the best talent.
That's the downside there.
That's one of the downsides.
Right. It's not an indication of maybe a problem on her part. It's just that it's going to be a challenge to keep good people there. Here's Joe Biden. He is responding to the latest polling that shows that Sanders is gaining in the black vote and does better than Biden in broadly non-white vote. And this, of course, has been Biden's sort of like Alamo in many respects, because this is his argument as to why he is most electable, is because he has such strength with non-white voters, which is, Democrats lose the white vote. They lose the white vote every year in the presidential elections. So you need to win big broadly with people of color. Here's Joe Biden, though. He doesn't like getting challenged like this, and he's going to show he's not some stodgy old white guy.
Why is Senator Sanders leading you with black voters under the age of 35?
He is not leading black voters under the age of look, just all I know is I'm leading.
Pause it. Now, I love that trick by Joe Biden. He's like, I'm repeating back, and I realize, okay, you're right. I don't have. He is leading me into 35. I don't know the stats, but okay.
I was ready to lie nonetheless.
Yeah, let me. I'm about to lie, but then I got to remember, like, oh yeah, I got to stop lying. I'm not supposed to do that. I shouldn't say that I marched with civil rights because I didn't do that. I'm not going to do that again. All right, go back.
Why is Senator Sanders leading you with black voters under the age of 35?
He is not leading black voters under the age of look, just all I know is I'm leading everybody combined with black voters.
I'm winning.
You got everybody.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Let's get this straight. Name me anybody who has remotely close to the support I have of the African American community nationally.
Well, actually, Vice News just did a poll that showed that Sanders is a bit behind you, but he does have significant black support. I mean,
but
it's not something to sniff at.
He's way behind
A bit in the ways is
Oh, yeah. Come on, man. Give me a break. You know better.
Come on, man, me.
You know better. You know better. There's a reason why I have more support of elected black officials.
Turkey me.
Three former.
Come on, man. Don't be a jive turkey.
Now, a lot of
pulled
people.
real well.
A lot of
Why
people.
would he not be leading with young blacks when he knows how to talk to them so well?
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Look, here's
I was
the
watching
point.
Dolomite last night or 2 weeks ago.
Here's the really disturbing part about this. Joe again plagiarized this from Silver Streak. We will let's.
Be cool. Shake it, but don't break it. Hey man, how do I look? You look sharp. I feel sharp. You hear?
There it is. He plagiarized that from Silver Streak, the bathroom scene where Gene Wilder, of course, is trying to pretend that he's black so that he can get by the guards at the airport.
I watched the original Shaft, not the remake, man.
Come on, man.
What would Corn Pop think?
This is
This is also very important
this is,
information here.
and the New York Times also did a piece about this, that Joe Biden has had a problem in the past, sort of exaggerating his role in the civil rights movement. It went from I marched to I thought about it a lot.
It went from being at a pizza place in Ithaca or Syracuse being like, they got a kind of a bad deal too. I advise John Lewis.
Exactly.
The reason why I have more support of elected black officials, three former members of the chair of the Black Caucus, black mayors. I mean, come on.
On a very personal level, why do you think that black people like you so much?
Because they know I know them and they know I care from the time I've been 16 years old. I came home from law school and Dr. King had burned down.
But what does it mean to know, to say you know black people?
It means
Dr.
that I've
King
worked
had
in the
burned
East
down
Side.
what?
I deliberately went and worked for 3 years to make sure I was the only white guy that worked in the East Side because, I wanted to understand. I was involved in the civil rights movement, but
What did you want to understand?
What I want to understand, I didn't realize, for example, as the only lifeguard in the project.
Look at their faces.
Jesus. Yeah, it's.
They look so.
What was it? I'm
unconvinced.
curious. He didn't march. Well, how many people do you think were involved in the civil rights movement but didn't march? What did you do?
He was the only lifeguard in the projects. I think you heard what he said.
Well,
Now, let's be
I'm
fair
curious
here.
what that means. I don't even consider myself involved in the anti-war movement against the Iraq War, and I went to 4 marches. And maybe I called I wasn't
Biden metric. You're essentially the leader of it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. I don't understand. That's the low-hanging fruit. What was he doing? Was he sending postcards? I don't understand. What was he involved in?
He stayed at the pool and made sure no potential marchers drowned in the pool.
Made sure MLK didn't burn it down.
I would
didn't
go
burn
to
down the pool.
Delaware on the weekend.
What do you think he was going
burn
with
white
that?
people's
When Martin
homes.
Luther King was burning down. When did Martin Luther King burn down anything?
I burned down the Biden family's condo to unwind. Actually, that's true. Just on a weekend trip to relax with my friend Corn Pop. He had some kind of beef.
Look, the
I just
problem
wanted to do
here
a burning.
ultimately.
He was burning down racism. Okay.
The problem ultimately is that when Joe Biden is pressed on anything, he can't handle it. He can't Joe Biden knows more than anybody else, I think, that his politics and sensibility are anachronistic. They do not fit in this time. And so when Donald Trump says, I never cut Social Security, you wanted to cut Social Security. And it's look, somebody tweeted at me like, what about, this is quite a purity test. And I suppose Obama's not pure enough too because he offered to cut Social Security 3 times. If people want to go back and listen to every conversation that Digby and I had for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years on this program, almost every single conversation that we had, she wasn't a regular on Fridays, but I would have her on once a month. And almost the only thing we would talk about was Barack Obama's desire to cut Social Security. Nobody would listen to it. Well, I'm not saying we would listen to the show, but I'm saying broadly speaking, that it is a problem. It is a real problem for Joe Biden. And never mind what he would do going forward. I don't think he would try and cut Social Security going forward. Maybe. Maybe with the help of Chris Coons.
Yeah, can we just
do this? I mean, it's quite possible.
I would underscore that. He keeps saying the fever will break. If you want a big deal with Republicans to heal America, it's going to be that.
But just as damaging is the idea that he's going to get nailed in the general election over it. I mean, this is Biden in Iowa yesterday. I know this new Republican Party better than anybody. I've been their object of their affection for some time now. I fully understand the way they try and malign my only surviving son and the way they've gone after my family and even my grandkids. He claims he cannot hold grudges, which he says is the key to compromise in Republic. Look, one of the things the president has to do is you have to be a fighter and a competitor, but a president also needs to be a healer. It's not about me. It's about you. Now, where have I heard that before? But the bottom line is, even if I was to, well, first of all, I don't know what it is that he's going to compromise on. What's the give? What's the give and the get? But even if he's never going to get in that position because Donald Trump is going to go up there and he's going to say, you tried to cut Social Security multiple times. And it's not because some, dude who's a Bernie supporter sitting in his apartment cut up a video that he could find online. It's because everybody can find that online. And Donald Trump is going to get up there, and Donald Trump knows more than anybody. Remember, he studiously avoided this, saying I was going to cut Medicare or Social Security. And he's going to get up on that stage, and he's going to say, you tried to cut Social Security. I didn't. And those reporters from the Washington Post and the New York Times and everybody who's going to be like, well, the reality is that's true. That is true. And the video is going to be up there. And Joe Biden's going to get hammered on that. And he's going to get hammered on the Iraq War. He's going to get hammered on a lot of stuff. And the idea, and he's going to get hammered on Hunter Biden. And here's the point. There is no one who is going to go from a Biden supporter to a Trump supporter. I don't think that's going to happen. But there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden, which is what happened to Clinton last time. The ability to smear. And if you look at the criticism that is being lobbed at Joe Biden today, if you look at the criticism, I mean, this is true of every candidate. And I'm not quite clear why it's not true for Bernie Sanders. But the critique you're hearing now in the Democratic primary is the same one you're going to hear in the general. And the reason why this is a problem is because Trump's strategy is to diminish Democratic participation. And the reason why he will not have the opportunity to do that as much with Sanders, this is my theory anyways, is the same reason why you don't hear any of the criticism that supposedly he's going to use in the general. In other words, Trump is going to say about Social Security, he's going to say all the critiques that are lobbed at Joe Biden now are going to be the same ones that Trump uses because they're going to depress Democratic votes. But what are the ones that we're told that Trump is going to use in the general election? You're a socialist. You're a communist. You want to give away free things. If that was an effective strategy to depress Democratic votes, we would hear Democratic competitors of Sanders using it now. But it's not. will it harden? Will you have more Republicans coming out for Trump this go round than you did last? Probably. You didn't get as many votes as Romney did last time. And in 2018, we saw record Republican turnout. We just saw even more record Democratic turnout. So the question is, like, which critique is going to diminish turnout for Democrats? And the Democratic primary, because this is unique from the way that these things work in the past. In the past, Democratic primary was all about, like, I'm going to tack to the center. It's all about, like, I'm going to tack to center, appeal to more people, and blah, blah, blah. And any critiques that I get as a Democrat are not going to work in the general election, because the general election, I'm going to be appealing to a broader base of people. The election's not going to go that way this time. And it didn't go that way last time. The strategy is Trump is going to try and build on his numbers, but he can't do that very much. The key is to undercut the support of the Democrat by just slinging mud, because Trump knows that he's got his people. They're going to show up even if he shoots somebody on Fifth Avenue. So how does he depress the Democratic turnout? And that strategy of saying that you're just going to give people stuff, you're going to give free people stuff, he knows it's hard for him to run against that. The idea of communists and socialists are not they're not demons to Democrats anymore.
Yeah, people like free stuff.
People,
the only thing, like, they know that they can't say that free stuff is bad, so they say it's unrealistic.
They'll say it's unrealistic, and Trump.
That's going to be a tough line of critique for Trump to be like, we got to be sober.
Exactly. We got, honestly, guys, we got to look at this and hard numbers, and we got to crunch the numbers.
Got to look at the OBB.
I would love to do what Bernie does, but I've been sitting in front of a computer terminal for weeks, and we just can't do it.
We all want what Bernie wants.
He's going to call him a socialist. He's going to call him a communist. He's going to call him a Sandinista. And the Democrats are going to go.
Which again sounds like a cool guy.
Well, but the point is that Bernie's not running on being sane. If Bernie was running like, I'm sane, then crazy Bernie. But if you run as a, like, I'm going to return to where you can have integrity and where there's some honor, and then your opponent can say you have honor except for you took money from MBNA, except for you got your son on the board of MBNA, except for your family was trading off your name. Now, Biden can say your family was trading off your name too, but guess what? Nobody cares.
Well, then we're already in the gutter. We're already playing that game. Can I just say real quick too? I think that another advantage Bernie has, and it's interesting because he clearly doesn't like deploying this in the same way against Democrats, including really odious ones. But I think he's more comfortable against Republicans doing this. Like, we've made this joke a million times, but I think it's true that, like, crazy Bernie. Well, okay, Mr. Mental Health. Like, Bernie does have a way of just like, I'm not even going to get into it, but I do know how to be kind of sarcastic. I do know how to kind of arch my eyebrows and be like, really? You're going to go at me that way? And the other thing, too, is I think as we start to think about what the center actually means more broadly, there's ways in which, like, the fact that, like, Bernie has a plan for rural America is going to be perceived by, like, we have Kowalski, right? Who's, obviously does great politics. And it's just saying, like, can there be candidates that come forward that have something for farm and ag issues and things like that? That, there's some people, I think, that just perceive a candidate reaching out to them by simply, and being in the quote center, by simply talking about their issues, what actually matters to them.
Right. And I think that part of the calculation is what we're going to see. It's going to be, we're going to get the test of that in Iowa. Definitely. We're going to get the test, not just specifically ag stuff, although that's obviously more relevant there. But what we're going to see in Iowa is if Bernie can motivate people who agree broadly with Democratic broad strokes, principles and ideas, but because of the nature of his organizing and the way that he is centering people who look like these people, like at these town halls, come up and tell your story, that type of thing, if that motivates more voters. That's a separate argument, though. That is like the general is about who is going to not necessarily, I mean, it may be the case that Bernie brings in new voters, but the argument is also going to be like, who is going to keep Democratic voters from staying at home saying like, I don't think my vote matters?
That's who I'm thinking it could help with those, when he does that I think to me I think it might bring in some new voters, but I'm also thinking of, again, that couple of thousand as an example, the amount of Harvey K uses this. And Malika, I think also uses this too. Malika Jabali, that in Wisconsin,
I quoted this yesterday.
Which the empty ballots outweighs the margin that Trump won. That
the number of
presidential ballots that were not marked either way, left empty.
Right, that's true too.
Exceeds the margin Trump beat Clinton by,
That's
and
damning.
I think that is where that comes in terms of Democratic voters being engaged.
Yeah, and we're not even talking about people who've never voted before when we talk about those people.
Right. Yep. And there the stat yesterday that I had mentioned, I don't know if I still have it. It was the spread between Obama 2012 and Clinton in these places. Here it is. 588,000 people who went for Obama in 2012 didn't vote for either Hillary or Trump in 2016 in 3 swing states. And I don't think it's, I think she must be talking about 3 other states, or not necessarily Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Maybe it's Michigan, Wisconsin, 1 or 2 other places. I'm not sure. But because she said it's by 107,000 votes. If you look at the Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, you're talking closer to 70,000 votes. So
maybe Florida.
The idea, wherever it is, the point being that there are these votes out there, that these are voters who stayed home. I would imagine is a combination of Hillary doesn't inspire me and she's going to win anyways. Hillary doesn't inspire me, and so I don't really care. It's not going to make a difference to me. Or Clinton, I just don't think she's much better from Trump, and I'm not going to vote. Who knows how much the idea that she's going to win by 99% is, kept people at home as well. Who knows? We just don't know. But the fact of the matter is, now's not the time to do an experiment and find out, let's
cover all our bases.
Exactly. But all right, let's get to impeachment. I want to do this